I would like to detach more and more, and I do see more and more people around me trying to become safer with their data and their information online.
We're quite often thinking about this idea of, okay, there's my phone or some other kind of sensor-based device that is pinging a location to somewhere, to a data set. Even if you turn off the GPS function on your phone and you think that you're no longer pinging things, by sharing pictures of yourself in a particular environment, you may also reveal a lot about where you're at. And we're getting closer and closer to being able to tell where something is by what it looks like. Some of the biggest data sets might be based on data that stems from Pokémon Go, people taking pictures of little monsters. So that's various different kinds of questions that come up there as well.
As somebody who has grown up very dependent on these apps and on the convenience that these big companies offer, it's hard to try and detach from that, especially when everyone you know is still attached to those applications.
I don't think I would make a change in how I use my phone, especially because they will always find ways to use our data or get our data.
I don't think I'm making a change for anything. I don't think there's much I can do.
I don't really change how I use my phone. I still kind of trust that they're only after my money.
What we're seeing right now with many of the, also the reactions of the people that we saw on the screen is that I don't actually want this, but it's happening anyways. But I think we may need to stand up a little bit more collectively if that's something we definitely don't want. There's various different things that you can do, I guess. How effective they are is always a different question. You get the little example of the guy pulling around a bunch of Google phones just to create a traffic jam in a little sort of, trolley type of thing. And there's various different examples of this kind of resistance to some of these systems that are pushing up left, right, and center, and that might actually send the signal that there is a bunch of agency within all of this as well. I think on a very abstract level, it's kind of wondering whether we're asking the right questions or why are we asking the questions that we're asking. Because quite often when you're trained in a more engineering mindset, your idea is how the problem is there and you find a solution, whereas when you're coming more from a social science mindset, you're kind of asking, why is this problem structured the way that it is? And that's just two very, very different, but to a degree, I think also necessarily complementary approaches to doing work. For example, CCTV systems in cities and what the logic is around why and who they see as risky. And it comes down to the sort of level where you sometimes wonder, well, are these systems actually just creating new risks for other population groups? And that kind of starts you to think about, okay, is that the kind of system that we need? And at what point do we need to go back to thinking about what are the underlying reasons for why we want those systems in the first place, and how can we address those more effectively, rather than sort of building one system on top of the other system and on top of the other system. I can't say that I think we're very successful there yet in terms of actually creating these alternative systems and making sure that these other aspects are also actually addressed. But I'm kind of hopeful that in the small of it, you get a proposal that says, for a research project, that says, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And then you say, hey, how about you incorporate this perspective of this group a bit better, or you make sure that you are ensuring that that population group is better protected in the way that you're setting up your project. And those might be the sort of invisible moments where geotechnology ethics and that kind of stuff really come to matter, because it might just be a small tweak of at what level of detail does the data get analyzed, right? Sometimes it's not necessarily just because the model is more accurate that you're able to answer the question in the most meaningful way. Some firms, you actually need to accept that there's some more uncertainty or some more sort of error in the things that you're looking at, but at least you're able to look at the data in relation to the thing that you think is meaningful to answer. And it's these kinds of processes and picking up on them that will and does already create change in the way that people are doing their work. And it's quite often a little bit invisible because it's in the sort of commenting and reviewing phase of things. But I do actually am quite hopeful on that front that we are making our change there, one little research proposal at a time.